Eddie Chavez, Ruben Nava, and Jesse Romero. Jesus 911.
Jesus 911 on Virgin Most Powerful Radio. My name is Ruben Nava. I'm a one-man car. I'll be solo today. My partner, Jess Romero, he took ill yesterday on the Terry and Jesse show, and but we have him on the line. He's calling in to he's taking the day off today. He's get some rest, but he's calling in to let the listeners know just how much he appreciates your prayers for him, and just to give us an explanation of what's going on, just to calm your nerves. So, Jesse, you with us?
I sure am, Ruben, reporting for duty, sir.
Amen, Jesse. You sound great. It's great to have you, even if it's for just a few minutes here, Jesse. So how are you feeling?
I just came from Holy Mass right now, so I'm all churched up right now. As the guy named Ruben Nava says, I'm all Jesused up and churched up.
That's right. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, Jesse. So tell us what happened yesterday, Jess.
Yeah, let me tell you guys what happened during the Terry and Jesse show. I'll make it brief so you can get on with your topic for today, Ruben. Probably, I would say about 2 weeks ago, I felt this just scratch. I felt something in my throat, and I started coughing. I felt my throat was scratchy. And I remember as I coughed, to try to clear something that was in my throat, I heard something in my head pop. That was like 2 weeks ago. Never felt type of pain before, never felt something pop in my head, but I didn't pay much attention to it. But from that time on, like sporadically, I started getting little headaches, throughout the day. Yesterday, during the Terry and Jesse show, Terry wasn't there. I was starting the third segment, and all of a sudden, this headache that's been coming on for about the last 2 weeks, it became acute. I mean, I felt like I was in the ring, like I got hit in the temple, like I got blindsided. I felt like I was about to fall right during the third. I've never felt like that before. I felt like my body was just going to go limp, and I felt, vertigo. The whole room is spinning. I felt the sharp pain inside my head, then a throbbing pain, and I even felt nauseous. I said, "Oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to finish 20 more minutes of this show." So I stood up, held myself on the desk, and our engineer Richard, I said, "Hey Richard, go ahead and stop the show. I can't finish the show right now. I've got to stop the show right now." That's about all I could say. I felt like I started stuttering. I felt even my words started slurring. My wife ran in to the studio room. She said she saw me, and she said that I looked pale, like I was about to fall. And she says, "Should I call 911?" I said, No, don't call 911. I'm holding myself up on the desk. I'm just kind of like trying to look up because I felt, again, the room was just spinning and stuff. And I said, she goes, "I'm taking you to the hospital." I didn't argue with her. I said, "Okay, let's go." Got over to the emergency hospital at Gilbert Medical Center, and I was there for about 6 hours. And they basically did all kinds of tests on me. But at that moment, I guess because people saw this on social media, my wife and me are getting all kinds of texts, and masses are starting. Priests are watching this, and I'm offering mass right now, and just people all over the country that saw are starting to pray for me. And my wife was praying, and I was praying. I didn't stop praying for 6 hours, like mental prayer, meditative prayer. My wife was just praying to me the whole time. We're praying, and so I had a lot of prayer power. And I can just tell you. They didn't find anything. They didn't find absolutely anything. But the doctor yesterday did say, I'm going to refer you to a neurologist just to make sure and to go to your family doctor. So what's my opinion? What do I actually think happened to me, Because, again, this has never happened to me before. I mean, I exercise. I'm in fairly good shape.
And Jesse, just the boxing analogy, and you've never been hit in the ring like that. I've seen you fight.
No, I've never been knocked out.
Yeah.
I've never been dropped in boxing. I had 64 amateur fights. I've never been dropped. So yeah, I almost got dropped. I don't know by what, but my personal assessment is how I got this huge, gargantuan headache, as I call it. Probably a lot of. I don't sleep very well. I'm working on 3 books and kind of burning the midnight candle. So last night I got like a 9-hour sleep. Went to mass this morning. I feel outstanding right now. So it's like, wow, 9 hours of sleep. I haven't got 9 hours of sleep. I don't know how long. So I'm going to start trying to make sure I try to get like 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, just on a natural level. I think I got dehydrated too. I just don't drink enough water. My wife's always on me, and I just don't drink enough water. So I'm going to start drinking one of those smart bottle waters every day, like she said.
Yeah.
And also the third thing, I'll be honest with you, Ruben, I do give a lot of talks on the diabolical. I mean, yesterday we did a talk. We did a show with Eddie and myself on yoga,
That's right.
exposing some evil stuff about yoga. Then on the Terry and Jesse show, I was talking about homosexuality. So, I do broach topics that I know our enemy does not like, okay?
Yep.
So on a preternatural level, and I also got a book coming out on the diabolical from 10. It's coming out the end of July. It's going to be called The Devil in the City of the Angels. So also, working late at night, working on 3 books right now concurrently.
Wow.
I just think that the enemy of our souls, the enemy of the Catholic Church, could use just all that fatigue and everything just to try to give me these acute headaches and stuff, and just try to attack me with my health. And so that's my assessment. But I'm just going to rest today, try to see my family doctor. I was told to go see my family doctor. I do actually got a little lecture in the afternoon at a Catholic school, so I'm going to go in and do that, probably sitting down on a school. But I'm back, Ruben. I'll be back tomorrow.
Jesse, you're public enemy number 1 to the evil one, and he likes nothing more than to chop the head off, of our leader here. So, we prayed hard for you. A lot of rosaries.
Well, I can tell because I'm telling you, I'm restored right now. I mean, my health is like restored, and the doctor was like, I mean, all the symptoms that you have. I mean, this could have been, the precipitations of a heart attack or just all kinds of stuff. But we're finding nothing with you, and yet all these symptoms were very serious. So, again, I just think that heaven was stormed with prayer, because this happened right on social media, so a lot of people saw it. And a lot of people immediately I've been getting text for 24 hours on people. I just prayed a rosary for you, just prayed an Angelus, just offered my communion for you. So, yeah, I think that's all that restored my health. But really, Ruben, I actually think, to be honest with you, I won't make a lot of hay out of it, but I do help a lot of people that are demonized around the country. People call me up. And several people have told me, actually that are going through, they're actually going through exorcisms at different dioceses around the country. And, they call me up, I pray with them, I give them spiritual direction. But I've been told by several people, they're saying the devil hates what you're doing, the way you're exposing him, so watch yourself, Jesse. So, I've been told that by priests as well. So I know on a natural level, got to get some good sleep, got to drink a lot of water, and I can't give the enemy a foothold to try to get to my health.
That's right.
Because I need to be doing VMP for another 20 years.
That's right. Well, just good to have you back, Jesse. That you sound great, and we'll keep the prayers flowing. And let's
thanks,
hope
brother. And same here. And thanks. And I'll be praying for all the listeners of VMP. How it's like one big family and stuff. When somebody needs prayer, we know that we can just announce it on VMP, and we're going to have an avalanche of people praying for them.
That's right.
Thanks a lot, bro. Have a good show.
God bless you. Take care.
God bless you. Bye.
All right. Hey, so I'm a one-man car. You heard that. You heard that from my training officer, right? He says I'm off training. So we got a show today, a good show. I'll just tell you, I'll let you know what we're going to be talking about, and then we have another caller calling in here. We're going to be talking about the only officially recognized Marian apparition in the United States. And I had heard about it, but I never really looked into it until I read this article. And we're also going to talk about some of the other apparitions that were the other times that Mary has visited mankind. Let's see, we have a caller on. Mr. Engineer, is he still with us? Okay, I'll wait till he gives me the signal. Well, you heard Jesse, and Jesse's all prayed up, and that's what we've got to be. We've got to be all prayed up. We've got to be ready to when we embark in this as a soldier for Christ, we have to expect attacks, and that's. I completely agree that Jess is under attack because of what he's doing. He's been out in the front lines for so long, so we'll keep the prayers flowing. And this article here, it's about an apparition that occurred in Wisconsin, of all places. On October 8th, 1871, in a place called Peshtigo, Wisconsin, several men were setting small fires in the woods. And this was a common practice. We still do that. Fire crews still do that. They clear land, to burn the dry brush, so that when we do have a fire, this is not going to ignite. So this was a common practice in clearing land for expanding railroads or for expanding farmland, except in this particular day, something unexpected happened. A cold front moved into the area, creating winds that were close to hurricane force. And the winds fanned the flames, and the resulting Peshtigo fire still can claim the ignominious title as the deadliest wildfire in American history. So we'll get back to this article in a minute, and we'll take that caller. We have Richard on the line. On the other side of the break, we'll hear his call. Listening to Jesus 911. Don't change that dial. We're just getting started. Stay with us.
This is Terry Barber inviting you, all the men, to a men's conference June 15th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. This is going to be a day where we're going to talk about true masculinity. There's a problem in the Catholic Church today. We have very few men who love the Catholic faith. And I know a lot of the wives that I'm listening to right now saying, I want my husband to be on fire for the faith. Send him to the men's conference. Your son, send him to the men's conference by going to virginmostpowerfulradio.org or call 877-526-2151. That's June 15th. When your husband comes back from this conference, or your son, they're going to have a different view about their Catholic faith, because they're going to meet three men who love Jesus and his bride, the church, and are going to instill in them a love for Christ and his church, the Eucharist, Our Lady. Bring them to virginmostpowerfulradio.org. Sign up there or call 877-526-2151. Full sheen ahead.
It is only because of your continued prayers and generous donations that Virgin Most Powerful Radio can broadcast live each weekday. We count on your spiritual and financial support because you understand the urgent need for Catholic programming that shares the gospel with clarity and charity, but without compromise. Please prayerfully consider becoming a monthly donor. You can set it up with the touch of a button on our website, catholicrc.org.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
We are back, Jesus 911. Former LA County Deputy Sheriff. My partner's off today. As you just heard him, he called in and gave us how he's feeling. He took ill yesterday on the Terry and Jesse Show. We're retired cops on this program, 3 retired cops, and our goal is to give you some Catholic intel, some Catholic briefing, and so you can get and set the world ablaze and take it out to the streets and evangelize. You know, I spent a career, 31 years, taking people to jail, taking the bad guys off the streets and sending them to prison. And now, when I think about it, we're busting them out. At least we're hoping to bust them out of that prison of sin that they're trapped in, and sharing with them the Catholic gospel, the one true faith that Jesus Christ himself started upon Peter the Rock. And so we take this seriously. Jesse's a pro at this. Eddie and I, we're coming along. We're just blue collar guys, but we love Jesus. We love his church. We love his mother, and we want to proclaim it from the rooftops. And we are going to be talking about our Blessed Mother. But before we get on with the article, let's listen to. We have a caller, Richard, on line 2. Richard, you there?
Hey, Ruben.
Yes.
Ruben. Hi. So I've been listening to Jesse and you guys for many years, and so I had stumbled on some of his YouTube videos on spiritual warfare, and both in English and Spanish. And specifically within the last couple of weeks, they were pretty powerful talks. So I started forwarding that to people on the phone, people that I knew in the community, folks that I know that might have never heard of Jesse or his talks specifically on spiritual warfare. And when I saw what took place yesterday, I in my heart, I only felt that a soul was saved or somebody was affected in a positive manner, and I probably contributed to what had happened to Jesse yesterday, because I don't know, I know there's a lot of folks that never heard of Jesse, and those spiritual talks are pretty powerful and they're very, very specific and clear. So I just felt that I contributed to what took place yesterday.
That's awesome, Richard. Where are you calling from?
San Pablo, California.
All right, that's where, up north.
Yeah, Bay Area.
Oh, okay, awesome. And so you just started listening to us on the Virgin Most Powerful Radio just a few weeks ago. Is that what
No. For years, I've listened to the Terry Jesse show, but what I never did was go into YouTube and look at his spiritual talks, spiritual warfare talks, and then some of them were very powerful. So what I was doing was I was forwarding those links to different folks that I knew both in Spanish and English.
Yeah, well, Jesse, he's covering a topic that nobody covers, and it needs to be put out there. It needs to be preached. It needs to be said, because most Catholics don't know the ins and outs of their faith. They don't know the beginning of their faith, but especially spiritual warfare. And he's covering it like nobody that I know of on the air. So props to my partner, Jesse, and thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be praying for both of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard. God bless.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right. So you heard that. He's giving some props to Jesse and his spiritual warfare. And we can't say enough about our partner here. We're blessed to have him. And so, Jesse, take care of yourself. So we're talking about this, the only recognized Marian apparition in the United States, and it's a fire started. It's in Peshtigo, Wisconsin, and let's get into this. This wildfire, no wildfire in the U.S. has ever caused more deaths than this Peshtigo fire, and it's estimated that close to 2,500 people perished. It ranges from 1,500 to 2,500, but so many people died. There weren't enough people to identify the deceased, and in one particular case, they buried about 300 bodies that could not be identified in one mass grave. The degree of the inferno went as high as 2,000 degrees, but there's an incredible sidebar to the story. And miraculously, there was a small group of people who were not harmed at all. They were right in the middle of the blaze, and they were with Adele Brise. Now, who's Adele Brise, you might be saying? Well, Adele Brise was born in Dion-Leval in the Belgian province of Brabant on January 30th, 1831. And as a child, she was very devout, but she had a devotion to the Blessed Mother, and she was involved in an accident that resulted in the loss of an eye. But despite this handicap and a meager education, Adele was known for her charming and inviting personality, her fervent piety, simple religious ways, and confidence in the intercession of our Blessed Mother, the Virgin Mary. So her family was making this trip to the United States from Belgium. They were relocating as immigrants, and she was 24 years old, and her companions were all wanting to be religious out there in Belgium, and devote their lives to the foreign missions. The other girls followed their vocation. That's why Adele felt so sorry when the Blessed Mother said to her, "What are you doing here in idleness while your companions are working in the vineyard of my son?" And that was related to us by Sister Pauline, one of her the sisters that worked with Adele, Sister Adele. So these talking about what happened here. Adele came to the United States. She got the blessing of her parish priest, her spiritual advisor, and one day she's walking through the country, through the woods. Her parents bought a large acre of property, and they landed in New York, and then they not fled, but they migrated to Wisconsin. And so she's walking through the woods, and she saw a woman clothed in white standing between a hemlock and a maple tree. Now, the woman was encased in a bright light. You think about some of the other apparitions, it kind of, it's similar to what other apparitions have reported. And so a crown of stars was above her long blonde hair. And it was striking to me. She says long blonde hair. So our Blessed Mother is appearing to her like perhaps like her native people from Belgium. And, when she appeared to Juan Diego in Mexico, she appeared as an Aztec Indian. When she appeared in some of these other, like Lady of Lavang, she appeared as a Vietnamese lady. And so she appears as the indigenous people, and she speaks their language when she speaks to them. So the woman appeared to her, and Adele was, filled with fear, as most people would, and she began praying, and the vision disappeared. And she told her mom and dad, and that they thought it was maybe a soul that was in need of prayers. That's a good thought. But the following Sunday, Adele was walking on her way to Mass and with her sister and another woman when she saw the apparition a second time. But her sister and her friend were walking ahead of her, and they did not see anything. And as Adele returned from Mass, the lady appeared to her a third time. Adele, who had confided in her parish priest about the mysterious lady, did as she was told to do, and she asked the lady the question, "In the name of God, who are you and what do you wish of me?" And the lady answered, "I am the Queen of Heaven who prays for the conversion of sinners, and I wish you to do the same." And she said, she exhorted her that she had received communion. That was good, but you got to do more. The Blessed Mother told her, "Make a general confession and offer communion for the conversion of sinners. Gather the children in this wild country and teach them what they should know for salvation." And Adele was afraid, as most people would. She knew little about her faith. She asked, that's probably how I felt when Jesse said, "Hey, you want to be on the radio with me?" So she asked how she was supposed to do this with so little knowledge. And the Blessed Virgin told her, "Teach them the catechism, how to sign themselves with the sign of the cross, and how to approach the sacraments. That is what I wish for you to do. Go and fear nothing. I will help you." That's the same thing my partner Eddie Chavez is preaching all the time, that people need to be catechized. We've lost the faith, and we need to get back to the tenets of the faith by teaching. And that's hopefully we're doing some of that here, exhorting people to learn their faith and live their faith. So Adele took the Blessed Virgin's words to heart. She began a long ministry of teaching children the Catholic faith. She started traveling all over the parts of that region, 50 miles in some days, and she was bringing the faith to so many people. And eventually the priest said, "You know what? You're killing yourself. Why don't we build a chapel here and have them come to you?" Which is what happened. They built a small wooden structure at the side of the apparition, and a few years later, after a lady by the name of Isabella Doyen donated 5 acres around the site, Adele started a small school, and then later on, a big wooden church was built, and it was named Our Lady of Good Help. Adele and some other women formed a chapter of a Third Order Franciscans, although she never took a religious vow. She was also always known as Sister. I thought that was cool. And in the meantime, the magnificent woodlands of Wisconsin were being harvested. Say that fast now. So harvested for their fine lumber. And so there was a lot of sawdust everywhere, dried branches were littered the area. And then one evening, October 8th, 1871, a Pestigo fire quickly exploded and began to devour the entire area with its rushing flames and heat. And that firestorm began to head for Our Lady of Good Help. So what did the people do? People of faith, they flocked to the chapel and to the church. And there was never an acute head count, but many people came, some even bringing their livestock. And so Sister Adele organized a prayer group, and they started praying the rosary, and they started processing with the statue of Our Lady. And the fire kept coming, and the people kept coming, and eventually the people had to move inside as the temperatures were getting too hot. And soon the fire raged all around the compound, and the flames even arched over it. But the fire never touched the chapel of Our Lady of Good Help or the people who were in there. Now, I looked up that fire because I had not heard of this fire, and it turns out that it didn't get a lot of attention because there was another fire the same day, the big great Chicago fire, which killed about 300 people on the very same day. But the local newspaper reported on the blaze saying the frenzy of despair seized on all hearts. Strong men bowed like reeds before the fiery blast. Women and children like frightened spectres flitting through the awful gloom were swept like autumn leaves. Crowds rushed for the bridge, but the bridge, like all else, was receiving this baptism of fire. Hundreds crowded into the river. Cattle plunged in with them, and being huddled together in rise general confusion of the moment. Many who had taken to the water to avoid the flames were drowned, and a lot of them were burned to death because the water was so hot. Many were on the blazing bridge. They fell in, so a lot of them fell into despair and sank and lost their lives in that water. And we'll get back to this. We just about halfway through this. I want to tell you a little bit more about this article. And you're listening to Jesus 911. Stay with us. Got more to come. God bless.
This is Terry Barber inviting you, all the men, to a men's conference June 15th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. This is going to be a day where we're going to talk about true masculinity. You know, there's a problem in the Catholic Church today. We have very few men who love the Catholic faith. And I know a lot of the wives that I'm listening to right now saying, I want my husband to be on fire for the faith. Send him to the men's conference. Your son, send him to the men's conference by going to virginmostpowerfulradio.org or call 877-526-2151. That's June 15th. When your husband comes back from this conference, or your son, they're going to have a different view about their Catholic faith, because they're going to meet three men who love Jesus and his bride, the church, and are going to instill in them a love for Christ and his church, the Eucharist, Our Lady. Bring them to virginmostpowerfulradio.org. Sign up there or call 877-526-2151. Full sheen ahead.
It is only because of your continued prayers and generous donations that Virgin Most Powerful Radio can broadcast live each weekday. We count on your spiritual and financial support because you understand the urgent need for Catholic programming that shares the gospel with clarity and charity, but without compromise. Please prayerfully consider becoming a monthly donor. You can set it up with the touch of a button on our website, catholicrc.org.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show, and they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow, that's 80%. realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
Jesus 911, one-man car. Call letters of John 3:16. Remember, no cross, no crown, no pain, no gain, no guts, and no glory. Okay, we're talking about one of the deadliest fires in U.S. history was no match for the Blessed Mother, and she's known as Our Lady of Good Help. And this happened at the time, it was at Robinsonville, Wisconsin, and later the name was changed to Champion. And so here we go. We're talking about this firestorm that was raging, and more than 1 million acres were destroyed in the Pestigo fire, the firestorm. As far as the eye could see, it was total devastation. Now, I've been through some fires. I've worked some fires, evacuating on the Malibu fires a couple times and the Altadena fires. I've seen the devastation of what fire can do, but what they're telling us here in this article, this fire was it was destroying everything in its path, in its wake, and that's also happens when they don't clear out brush. There's so much fuel for the fire, and then the winds, they kicked up, and they were just, it was a feeding frenzy. And so in the middle of it all, this chapel of Our Lady of Good Help and the fenced property surrounding it were untouched. The property had been spared, and no one had been hurt, not even the animals. The 5 acres sat amid the charred landscape. It was like an oasis in the desert. People came and saw this, and immediately they knew this was the hand of God. The Blessed Virgin Mary had a part to play in this. She did everything. So they stood outside the chapel. They were, and they looked and they gave thanks to God, and they had no doubt that the Blessed Virgin had helped them. And the story of Sister Adele and Our Lady of Good Help was always well known within the local culture and to the faithful, but many considered it an urban legend. When this was going on and she was teaching the children, much like some of the other apparitions, the church is not quick to believe the seers. We saw that with the children of Fatima. Remember the local mayor and the police, they threw the kids in jail. They wanted them to recant their story. Remember Our Lady of Lourdes, she wasn't believed initially. And so it goes, because we should take great precaution to make sure that these people are telling the truth and that nothing goes against the faith, as people were flocking to it. And in fact, a lot of the money, like the money changers, it was almost like in the gospel where Jesus turns over the tables in the temple. There was a lot of pilgrimages were coming to this site, and celebrations began to take place. But avaricious and pleasure-seeking individuals, they took the opportunity to exploit the crowds who came to the chapel. A variety of vendors set up businesses outside the chapel grounds over which Adele had no control, and serving only to sully the solemnity of the Feast of the Assumption of the Church. And such dealings threw a bad light on Adele and fueled the opposition of some of the clergy who believed her story was a myth. You see that even in the Holy Land when we were going, there were these vendors at every shrine. The people set up their wares, and it's making money. We see that, and of course I've never been to Medjugorje, but the Franciscans are known. They have a big business there, and anyway, I'm not trying to throw Medjugorje into this the approved apparitions, because it still has not been approved. In fact, Well, we're not going to get into that today, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of these people who are out to make money at the expense of the religious there that have good intentions coming to make a pilgrimage. So Adele, she saw that the chapel was spared, the people were spared, and this happened again, 1871, and it took. Oh gosh, it wasn't until December 8th, 2010, on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, that a special Mass was offered on the site by Bishop David Ricken. And at the Mass, the bishop declared that the Marian apparitions seen there by Adele were worthy of belief. So that being made it the only approved apparition to occur here in the United States. And she was persecuted by the local bishop, the original bishop of Wisconsin there. So, and he didn't want to believe her. He wanted to stop her from teaching, and then she reminded him that he would be responsible for the souls lost due to the lack of proper religious instruction. I like that, Adele. Thank you very much. She put the bishop in her place, very respectfully, of course, but she said, it's going to be on you, sir. It's going to be on you that the people are going to lose their faith because there's no one to teach them. And so impressed by her sincerity and zeal, the bishop returned the keys back to Sister Adele in order to continue her mission. But an incredible story. The fire, I should be noted that when Our Lady appeared to Sister Adele, she said, if they do not convert and do penance, my son will be obliged to punish them. You see, so it's one of the same type of messages that Our Lady has given over the years at different apparitions, So a great story. Our Lady of Good Help, pray for us. And we're going to not switch gears, but we're going to go into some other stories of our Blessed Mother, because May is the month of Our Lady, and we're still in May. And hopefully at your church, they did a Marian procession. They crowned the crowning of Our Lady. Usually occurs in the first week of May. So that's what we're doing this for, because we want to give props to Our Lady, our mother. She's our mother, and she's everyone's mother, whether they know it or not. They have a mother in heaven. Just look at Revelation 12:17. It tells you have a mother in heaven. But there's another article I want to talk about. It's 7 times the Virgin Mary has visited mankind. So we're staying on the same subject of Our Lady. And the 20th century is rich in reported apparitions of the Blessed Virgin. From her most well-known appearance in Fatima, Portugal, to lesser publicized but equally powerful appearances in Kibeho, Rwanda, or Akita, Japan. And but why has she been appearing? Father Rene Larrington, he's a world-renowned Mariologist, and he was born on October 19, 1917. So that month of October 1917 should ring a bell for you, because that was just 6 days after the Blessed Virgin's last apparition at Fatima, when she did the miracle of the sun. And this particular priest, he spent his life investigating and traveling these reported events. And some years ago, he said he believes the multitude of apparitions are an urgent call to a world headed for self-destruction. I believe him. There are very serious and grave situations in the world today, he says. There are so many reasons for the Virgin to appear and alert us, he said. She speaks globally of moral risk or liberal sexual immorality and materialism. Remember, at Our Lady of Fatima, she told the children that a lot of the outfits that people were wearing would scandalize her son. They were very offensive. And that was in 1917. Can you imagine what the bathing suits looked like then? If she, look where we've come. People half naked on the beach, and the outfits are just general and clothing you see every day. What people are wearing, guys and girls. So I'm not bashing any particular gender here. We both are guilty of it. So the world is destroying itself by the consequences of sin, and we cannot draw ourselves out of it by ourselves. That's absolutely true. So the Virgin is calling us to return to the essentials. She's asking us for prayer, for conversion, for reparation for sin, for, to pray the rosary daily. In a lot of these instances, she asked for a chapel to be built, Our Lady of Guadalupe, Fatima, at Lourdes, all these places, Our Lady of Good Help that we just talked about, a chapel was built. So they become shrines there eventually. So the Blessed Virgin, she wants to communicate to us by her visits. And in 2008, in an interview, Father Laurentine, he said the messages vary, but at the same time, they're unanimous in as much as they represent the simple echo of the gospel and invite us to prayer, to conversion, to penance, to fasting, to reading the Bible, and doing these things. But they don't go beyond the doctrine of the church. They do not. And we have to know that these are private revelations, and that we're not obliged to believe in them, but when the church tells us they're worthy of belief, then we could feel confident that we are a good authority, that we can make pilgrimages to them. And I would avoid any of these places that have not been spoken of and authenticated. Let's see what the Catholic Church says about this, and then we'll go back to the article. Throughout the ages, there have been so-called private revelations, some of which have been recognized by the authority of the Church. They do not belong, however, to the deposit of faith. That's important, people, because remember that the deposit of faith ended with the death of the last apostle. Okay, there's no new revelation. Okay, we might learn more. We can interpret it and go deeper into its meaning, but there's no new deposit of faith. Our Lady is not giving new revelation. And it's not the role to improve or complete the Christ's definitive revelation, but to help live more fully by it in a certain period of history. Guided by the magisterium of the Church, the Sensus Fidelium knows how to discern and welcome in these revelations whatever constitutes an authentic call of Christ or his saints to the Church. That's from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So we're coming up on our third break. We're talking about 7 times the Virgin Mary has visited mankind, and especially in the 20th century.
This is Terry Barber inviting you, all the men, to a men's conference June 15th at the Sacred Heart Chapel. This is going to be a day where we're going to talk about true masculinity. There's a problem in the Catholic Church today. We have very few men who love the Catholic faith. And I know a lot of the wives that I'm listening to right now saying, I want my husband to be on fire for the faith. Send him to the men's conference. Your son, send him to the men's conference by going to virginmostpowerfulradio.org or call 877-526-2151. That's June 15th. When your husband comes back from this conference, or your son, they're going to have a different view about their Catholic faith, because they're going to meet 3 men who love Jesus and his bride, the church, and are going to instill in them a love for Christ and his church, the Eucharist, Our Lady. Bring them to virginmostpowerfulradio.org. Sign up there or call 877-526-2151. Full sheen ahead.
It is only because of your continued prayers and generous donations that Virgin Most Powerful Radio can broadcast live each weekday. We count on your spiritual and financial support because you understand the urgent need for Catholic programming that shares the gospel with clarity and charity, but without compromise. Please prayerfully consider becoming a monthly donor. You can set it up with the touch of a button on our website, catholicrc.org.
Buying or selling your home or your business property? This is Terry Barber. Real Estate for Life underwrites the Terry and Jesse Show. And they can connect you to one of 900 pro-life real estate agents around the world. And when they receive their referral fee, they will give 80% of it to a pro-life organization. Wow! That's 80%! realestateforlife.org, 877-LIFE-US1.
Now, back to Jesus 911. If this call is not an emergency, dial 888-526-2151.
Jesus 911. Remember, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And we go by the what Proverbs say, iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. And we are trying to be that sharpener for you guys. And we're preaching the Catholic faith, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God. That's my partner Eddie likes to put it. And we're talking about some of the apparitions and in an article on why is Our Lady appearing so often and what does she want to tell us. And I just finished telling you about the what the church says about apparitions. You know, it's not that we have to believe them. It's not like an article of faith where the dogmas of the faith, such as the Immaculate Conception, that was when it was the Holy Father when he's speaking ex cathedra, de fide, that he's speaking, he makes a pronouncement that's for all of us to believe, and we have to believe it as Catholics. The Immaculate Conception, I believe, was 1850, and then 1954, where she was the Assumption of the Blessed Mother was pronounced, and it was always believed. These things were always believed. That they had been sometimes they come under attack, and the Church, in its infinite wisdom, will decide when to put them out and when to make that pronouncement. So those things we have to believe them to be. Otherwise, we separate ourselves from the Church. We can't pick and choose what we want to believe. And what we're saying about these apparitions, if they're worthy of belief, then you can feel confident that you can go and visit them and do these things. Remember, the bishop in the Council of Trent in 1545 to 1563, the local bishop is the first and the main authority in the apparition cases, which can be defined as instances of private revelation. And it says here in the 25th session of the Council of Trent that these things may be more faithfully observed. The Holy Synod ordains that no one be allowed to place or cause to be placed any unusual image in any place or church, whosoever exempted, except that image have been approved by the bishop. Also, that no new miracles are to be acknowledged or new relics recognized unless the said bishop has taken cognizance and approved thereof, who, as soon as he has obtained some certain information in regard to these matters, shall, after having taken the advice of theologians and of other pious men, so he's not doing it on his own, people, okay? So he's getting counseling, and other people are looking at it. He's just making the pronouncement. And act therein as he shall judge to be consonant with truth and piety, but in any doubtful or difficult abuse has to be extirpated, or in fine, if any more grave question shall arise touching these matters, the bishop shall, deciding the controversy, shall await the sentence of the metropolitan and the bishops of the province in a provincial council, yet so that nothing new or that previously has not been usual in the Church shall be resolved on without having first consulted the most holy Roman pontiff. The bishop looks at this criteria. He evaluates the evidence of the apparition according to these guidelines. Okay, the facts of the case, are they free of error? They're not teaching anything that's contrary to the faith. Okay, the persons receiving the messages is or are psychologically balanced, honest, moral, sincere, and respectful of church authority. The doctrinal errors are not attributed to God, Our Lady, or to a saint. Theological and spiritual doctrines presented are free of error. Money making is not a motive involved in the events. And I want to mention that one of the seers just a couple of years ago, Archbishop Gomez here in LA, he prevented one of the seers at Medjugorje to come make a trip here to the United States or to California to give a talk. He was doing it for the purpose of making money on what Our Lady was telling him. So I'm here to tell you that has one of the criteria we want to be careful about, and we have to discern. Healthy religious devotion and spiritual fruits result with no evidence of collective hysteria. Those are some of the things the bishop looks at. Okay, and according to the International Marian Research Institute, there are 4 criteria that determine whether a Marian apparition is to be approved or not. And the first norm for evaluating miraculous events is that there be moral certainty, or at least great probability, that something miraculous has occurred. The commission may interview the visionaries, call other witnesses, visit the site of the events. And I have to point out, because we've had apparition sites that people claim are, my rosary turned to gold. I was healed there. Let's say Bayside. People, I even know people that were believed in Bayside, and the church ruled that they haven't ruled. They haven't ruled that anything supernatural has occurred there, but that doesn't mean Our Lady can't heal people through her Son, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It doesn't mean people, they hear our prayers. Our Lord and Our Lady hear our prayers. So because something good happened at Medjugorje or something good happened at Bayside, that does not make it the apparition site approved. And I know I'm going further than I wanted to go on those topics, but even Garam Bondal in Spain, a big devotee of that was Padre Pio. He believed in it, and nothing. It hasn't been approved yet, but it hasn't also been shut down as well. The second norm deals with the personal qualities of the subject who claim to have had the apparition. They must be mentally sound, honest, sincere, of upright conduct, obedient to ecclesiastical authorities, able to return to the normal practice of the faith, such as participation in communal worship, reception of the sacraments. But I'll tell you, you look at some of the seers and the visionaries and some of these great apparitions. Many of them became religious. La Salette, Melanie Calvat became a nun. Lucia at Fatima became a nun. The young kids, they became great saints. Even Jacinta, when they exhumed her body, she was incorrupt. You saw Bernadette, her body's incorrupt as well. She became a nun. There's many of them turned to the religious life because they've been so moved. Okay, so that's something to think about. A third category deals with the content of the revelation or message. It must be theologically acceptable and morally sound and free of error. And the fourth positive criterion is that hold on a little. The fourth criteria is that the apparition must result in positive spiritual assets which endure prayer, conversion, increase of charity. All right, so those are some of the things that the church looks at, and so Father Laurentine, he spent his whole life looking at these apparitions. But in the majority of the Marian apparitions, it's only one person or a few people, quite often children, report having seen the Blessed Virgin, who at first they describe simply as a lady. Yet there are many exceptions, such as the apparition in Zaytown, Egypt, where she's reported to have been seen by thousands of people, Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, Muslim, and unbelievers. That was in Egypt, and it was at a Orthodox church named after her, St. Mary's Church. So through the church does their investigations, they look at things, and they determine whether these things are valid. Okay, where the Holy See has officially approved at least 13 apparitions, and but there's quite a few more that the local ordinary, the bishop, have given their consent, their approval. In Lourdes, France, 1858, the Virgin Mary appeared to 14-year-old Bernadette Subaru, And if you haven't seen the Hollywood movie of it, it got an Academy Award. You got to see it. That's your homework, people. Got to watch The Song of Bernadette, a Hollywood movie, black and white movie made back in I believe, the 50s. And at the time, the Grotto of Masabiel, the rock, the Virgin instructed Bernadette to tell the priest to build a chapel on the site, and they showed her a spring whose waters had been the means of so many miraculous healings. And when Bernadette finally asked Our Lady who she was, the Virgin responded, "I am the Immaculate Conception." That's how her priest and the bishop knew that she was telling the truth. She was ignorant of that title, and that Bernadette also took ill. She died fairly young, and she herself did not go back to the spring, to the water, to get healed. She was not looking for it for herself. She offered her sufferings up. And even Our Lady told her that it was not going to be in this lifetime that she finds happiness, but in the next. And Bernadette, she listened to her. Portugal, 1917. Now, we're not going to have a chance to get through all of them. I'm just going to name some of them. We all know about Portugal. Akita, Japan, where Our Lady appeared to Agnes Sasagawa she converted to Christianity from Buddhism. That one mirrored what she was saying in Our Lady of Fatima. If you look into what she says at Akita, and what she said at Fatima, it's very similar. Then there's Betania in Venezuela from 1976 to 1988. She was appearing. In Kibeho, Rwanda, the Virgin Mary appears to 3 teens, Alphonse, Maurice, Natalie, and Marie Claire. Shortly before the Rwanda genocide, she asked for fasting, unceasing prayer, and conversion. Other young people claim to have received messages from the Virgin of Kibeho, but only the apparitions to the 4 that I mentioned were approved by the local ordinary. And at the shrine of Kibeho, Mary is venerated as the Our Lady of Sorrows. Okay, I think somebody was asking about Our Lady of Good Success, and that was in Quito, okay, Ecuador. And then again, we talked about Champion, Wisconsin, which she appeared to Adele Brise in northeast Wisconsin, and she's called there Our Lady of Good Hope. And then the apparition in Zayton, Cairo. The Virgin Mary appears on the dome of St. Mary's Coptic Orthodox Church to crowds. She doesn't say anything in this apparition, but she's there, and people, many of them unbelievers, Muslims and Protestants and Orthodox and Catholics, they all saw her, and no messages were given these appearances, but because the church where the apparitions occurred was part of the Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria, the Coptic Orthodox Patriarch Kyrillos VI gave approval for the veneration. Wow, that went fast, people. I get so excited when I talk about my mother, and anyone says anything negative of my mother, those are fighting words. I'm telling you, I love Our Lady, and you should too. Stay prayed up, keep the faith, live your faith, love your faith, and share your faith. Stay tuned for Hands-On Apologetics with Gary Mashuda. You've been listening to Jesus 911. Be back tomorrow. Jesse said be back tomorrow with Eddie on some spiritual warfare. Be with us. Keep the faith. God bless.
Saint Faustina's Prayer for Priests. O my Jesus, I beg thee on behalf of the whole Church, grant it love and the light of thy Spirit, and give power to the words of priests, so that hardened hearts might be brought to repentance and return to thee, O Lord. Lord, give us holy priests. Thou thyself maintain them in holiness. O divine and great high priest, may the power of thy mercy accompany them everywhere, and protect them from the devil's traps and snares, which are continually being set for the souls of priests. May the power of thy mercy, O Lord, shatter and bring to naught all that might tarnish the sanctity of priests. For thou canst do all things. Amen. Virgin most powerful, pray for us.